Hello and a very warm welcome to discussion today with your host Kriti Mishra. As we welcome year 2021, Vice President of India and Chairman of Rajya Sabha M. Venkaiah Naidu in an article in a newspaper said that people need to draw the right lessons from the experience of the last several months as individuals and collectively. The COVID-19 pandemic forced us to live restricted lives for most part of the last year. Life is a battle against uncertainties and challenges. Vice President also said that as most evolved of living organisms and living in the most complex order of economic, scientific and technological interconnectedness, humanity has witnessed a heightened share of such battles during 2020. Learning to live with a purpose and meaning is the biggest takeaway of the year that has gone by. And for discussing the way forward, I'm joined by Mr. Rakesh Khar, editor, Money 9, TV9 Network, and Aditi Tandon, senior journalist. Welcome to Rajya Sabha Television, both of you.
Thank you.
Mr. Khar, coming to you first. Year 2021, year of hopes, aspirations, and new resolves. Your takes, sir.
I think 2021 is going to be a year where hope shall prevail over everything else. And I think the most important point that you flagged in your intro is that we shouldn't look at 2020 as a year of complete disappointment. There are very, very important lessons that have come up front during 2020. However, we wish to cancel the year. We should look at positives that need to be drawn out. The most important positive to my mind is the importance of what I call individual social responsibility, ISR. We have often talked about the institutional responsibility. We talked about corporate social responsibility. But all these decades, when India looked at the growth story, we have missed the importance of individual social responsibility. I have alluded to that in my write-ups, in my columns. I think 2020 specifically pointed to the importance of this individual social responsibility. What is most important is that we must look beyond ourselves. The Indian middle class, especially living in big metros, all of us, we are part of that, have been afflicted by the syndrome what we call me, myself, and my family. We often tend to get completely preoccupied in our mind and in our efforts trying to secure this particular ecosystem. There's nothing wrong with us with this particular perspective, but what is most important is also that we need to look beyond ourselves. 2020 told us that you need to look at what you can do for the society, because this was an unprecedented crisis. We still are there in the midst of it. Probably the most bitter part of it is over, but we need to accept the life lessons that this pandemic has thrown at us, and we need to look at ourselves. We need to look at people who have been the frontline workers in this entire crisis. We need to reimagine their role and thank and have a great sense of gratitude. In that sense, I wouldn't just cancel 2020 like many of us do. I think it should give us and hold us the mirror, and we must draw important lessons from it. Going forward, 2021 should teach us to build institutional capability also. In 2020 also, what we learned in a positive framework was that as a nation, as a society, we build capacity, right from ICU beds to ventilators to PPE kits. We were absolutely at the lower end of the spectrum. Today, we are a proud nation which is supplying some of these equipment, some of these materials to the risk parts of the world. The entire term called medical textiles, has come into play, and India is positioned to draw dividend from that. So I think we should keep up the pace, keep up the vigil, keep up the responsibility quotient that we as individuals and we as a nation have shown toward the later part of 2020, and use this as the best possible measure to come on top of the virus. That would be
So you used a very important term, individual social responsibility. Aditi, your take.
I do tend to agree with Rakesh ji on almost everything that he has said. In fact, we have heard for years, even as we were children and went to school, we've heard of the adage that when the going gets tough, the tough get going. We've also heard that the world is a family. Vasudhaiv Kudumbakam is a philosophy that India has propagated, preached, and lived throughout centuries. But the past year, the year gone by, has evidenced these two adages like never before. it has shown that the entire world is interconnected, that I cannot progress until I think of you. You cannot progress until you think of me. So we are all one in this. And the past year was a year of resilience, as Mr. Khar has very rightly pointed out. Not just India, it was a year of global solidarity, because without too many countries cooperating on vaccines, on therapeutics, on diagnostics, we would not be where we are today. You see, let us remember 2020 as a lesson, because often in life, there comes a tide in the affairs of men which, when taken, leads on to fortune. So, it was that tide in the events of the world. And the world, by standing together, showed what it can unitedly achieve. You remember, till 12 months ago, in fact, December 31, 2019 was the exact day the World Health Organization learned of this global threat which emerged from Wuhan in China. And we have exactly lived 12 months through this pandemic together. 1.8 million people have lost their lives. This virus has devastated economies, it has devastated families, it has devastated societies. But what has it taught us? It has taught us that when we stand together and we come together as a society and as a world, we can actually, fight any kind of global threat. Let us not forget that unprecedented mobilization of science has happened through these 12 months to find solutions, how to fight this pandemic. Till 12 months ago, we had no idea about this strain of the virus. This pneumonia was new to the world. The virus was mutating every few days. We did not have the way to diagnose it, let alone therapeutics and vaccines. Today, in a record time, in 12 months, we are at the cusp of vaccine rollout in India. Some countries across the world have already given vaccines to the world. So see, where 2020 was a year of pain, suffering, and resilience, 2021 heralds a new beginning, like Prime Minister Narendra Modi pointed out yesterday. कि स्वास्थ्य ही संपदा है. That is the message which 2020 has given us, that let's look within, let's look at general well-being, that this rat race after money, after careers is not all that life is about. Life is about giving back. Life is about sharing with families and friends. That's for me the lesson of 2020. And I agree with Mr. Khar. I do not take it as a black spot in human history. It was an occasion which was needed. The world needed to get the lesson that we, like Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has very eloquently mentioned in his write-up today, a very beautiful thing. Who are we to save the planet? We have to align to the planet. There are other species in the planet, and we cannot interfere with the way the nature wants to move. The moment we interfere, there is mixing of species and we see virus mutating, jumping from one species to another. Why does that happen? That happens because we have forgotten to value nature. And 2020 has also taught us that nature is supreme, and that, it's been a very humbling experience in every which way for the entire world. And I'm sure these lessons will be taken forward, lest we are faced with another pandemic. The WHO Director General yesterday reminded the world that this is not the end of it. Exactly. That if you don't learn your lessons from 2020, there will be greater pandemics, because mixing of species is happening at a record pace. So let's move into 2021 with renewed hope and with all the lessons that we've learned from the past year.
Renewed hope and all the lessons that we've learned from 2020. Mr. Khar, as Vice President also asserts, it is important to focus on the lessons learned individually as well as collectively. Now, talking about India, of course, you mentioned that we've ramped up our health infrastructure, our vaccine, the entire world is looking up to us. But talking about India's COVID strategy, of course, there was Parliamentary Panel on Home Affairs, which also hailed India's strategy. But as a nation, what is that biggest lesson that we've learned?
I'll just come to the, before I specifically answer your question, I think it's important to point out that, India has a very, very important role to play going forward in 2021 in the global health management from the virus perspective. Look at the mindset change that Indian top leaders, in the political frame are talking about. The Vice President has written this piece, coming from him. It shows that there is a very important concerted direction in terms of bringing about the mindset change. That's extremely important. Any policy, will fail or succeed based on the mindset, direction that it has. And it comes from the Prime Minister. He kept, bringing us together. People can, talk about, this Thali Vajao thing as a, as something to laugh about. My own sense is that, as one nation, everybody was out on the balcony. It gave us a great occasion to unite it against the fear, against the unknown, that the virus was. Repeatedly, Prime Minister in his speeches from the Red Fort and down the line has been talking about this mindset change. Beti Bachao, is a great example of that. In the vaccine, challenge or the virus challenge, if you look at his speeches, he said it's the scientific community which will decide when to launch the vaccine. I mean, the entire pressure globally about, when will India launch into the vaccine has to be seen in the context of the iteration that the Prime Minister has repeatedly made, that it's the scientific community. We must invest and trust the scientific community to take the decision. So we must not get panicky about when will India get the vaccine. I think this mindset, which is emanating from India's three strong traditions, we have the cultural quotient, we have the spiritual quotient, we have the emotional quotient. We must drive these three quotients in India's strong soft power globally. Whether it's the vaccine or other global challenges, India has to ride the way forward. And we, as individuals, not just as politicians of all hues, must unite and make use of these three quotients to tell the world that what India can contribute in terms of creating a better, equity-led, unified world. In terms of COVID strategy, I think what is most important is that one, that we have learned to respect these doctors, these medical staff. We never looked at them the way we have looked at them, and we hope to sustain that.
Yes.
And it's not just doctors; it's police, it's security forces, it is Safai Karamcharis who are manning roads when there was complete lockdown. We must sustain that respect. We must sustain that trust. We must, as I repeatedly keep saying, look at what we can do as individuals. In terms of policy framework, I think we should create as many opportunities for the vaccine and also create as many price points for getting vaccine available to the citizens of this country, and possibly once we are done with exporting it to the rest of the world. It's important to look at using, there's huge debate about should the vaccine be free, should the vaccine be priced. I think India is not one market. India is a multiple set of markets. Every district you move, there is another market. And top global corporations have realized this, that the way you approach India is to look at it as different markets. So in that sense, we should settle this debate. Government must play its role in bringing the vaccine up front and take that responsibility. But we should not shun away from also looking at vaccine being priced. Like we have vaccines for other ailments which are priced. So this debate about pricing versus non-pricing should not cloud our policy framework when it comes to vaccine administration to 130 crore people. Also, in terms of ramping up the medical infrastructure, let's also face it's still very, very dismal. We have ramped up the ICU capacity, the ventilators, but per capita density for doctors and hospital beds in this country needs to improve dramatically. And I don't want to boil it down to one simple fact, what is the percentage share of healthcare expenditure on GDP? That obviously has to go up and up. But it's also important to reimagine the private sector, public sector partnerships in the healthcare sector. We have made some attempts in that direction, but I think we need to give it a very considered and careful thought. We have to look at successes that we have achieved in the private healthcare and look at using that as a template. And most other important factor is that best practices. This is the era of collaboration and convergence. My sense is that we must look internally and externally at best practices. We must look at what are the good practices that a particular state has, and we should remove our political, biases and perspectives when looking at best practice. This is our country. This is my India. I want to look at best practices, whether it comes from north, south, east, west, and template them. We must learn the capacity to template good practices. Unfortunately, we don't have capacity to template, best practices, even in the infrastructure sector. We have one metro, we have tried to replicate it, across India, but with limited success. There are some, Ayushman Bharat is a great story. There are some state governments who have good health, administration proposals. We must look at the best. India has some top talent. Look at the health story. This virus has also exposed us to some top talent which we didn't know. Right. Whether it's at WHO, whether it's in virology, whether it's in critical care management. I have seen endless number of Indian doctors who have come abroad, in the global media scenario, telling us their story. I mean, I saw this, if you remember right, early on in the lockdown period, in the US, there was this Indian doctor, her house, outside her house, there were hundreds of patients who came in cars. They stood in obeisance to her, saying that, we salute your commitment being in the hospital for all these months. taking care of critical care patients. So we need to integrate all this in terms of, unifying a very, very strong, talent-led, science-led, process-led approach to creating a very, very solution-oriented approach to virus management, and using this template in terms of, mitigating other challenges this country has. Let's be hopeful. Let's be positive. Let's not, lower our guard, but, try and pick on what we have done right, and what we have not done right. And let's be open to admitting to mistake. So I think that's where, we must brainstorm as a nation, as a government, between the states and the center. India is a very, very strong federal story. Let's not, be not conscious of that. We have some top minds residing in various parts of the country. We need to aggregate such opinions and, ideas and pull them in for creating a very, very strong 2021 for India, and where India shows the, way to the rest of the world.
So you made a very important point about global challenge. Aditi, one of the biggest highlights of 2020 was probably the clarion call for Atmanirbhar Bharat, vocal for local while having a global approach. Moving ahead, how will India ensure global welfare?
See, the topmost contribution that India will make once we have our vaccines licensed. In fact, as we talk today, the Drug Controller General of India's subject experts are meeting to review the data on vaccines submitted by Serum Institute of India and Bharat Biotech. As you know, Bharat Biotech and ICMR are making India's first indigenous COVID vaccine. And Serum Institute's vaccine is in collaboration with the Oxford vaccine, which has already been approved by the United Kingdom, and Indian regulators are having a look. So I just want to mention here that India is a supplier of 60% of the world's vaccine supplies through the UNICEF programs even today. India's capacity to manufacture and to deliver quality vaccines at record speeds is matchless. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has repeatedly said whenever he has addressed global gatherings, most recently the United Nations General Assembly, he has committed that India is going to supply vaccines to all the low and middle income countries. Yes. You see, going forward, what is going to be the biggest challenge for the world? The biggest challenge is going to be equitable access to whichever vaccines are being developed. We should not be in a situation where countries that can afford vaccines alone are being able to vaccinate and inoculate their populations against the virus. So who plays a role there? India plays a big role there to ensure equitable access, like India plays a huge role anyway in the pharmaceutical sector. Majority of the generic drugs that India produces for HIV are going across to the entire world, and we know that we are saving lives. So the whole world is looking at us, the WHO is looking at us for huge vaccine supplies, and it's a major challenge and a balancing act that India will need to do, because we have to ensure protection for our own population, and we have to also meet this global commitment, because we are part of, after all, the larger world fraternity. We cannot be in this alone. Right. In fact, the WHO has estimated that $4 billion would be required immediately for the world partnership, which is called the COVAX, which has been formed to ensure that vaccines, whenever are available, can be given out to the entire world, even the low and middle income countries. Right now, as you know, which are the countries that are rolling out the vaccines? The first to license the vaccine was United Kingdom, which licensed the Pfizer vaccine.
Yes.
UK has also licensed now the Oxford vaccine. So UK is rolling out the vaccine. France has started the process. United States has now started the process. So India is being actively and keenly watched on that front. That will be a major point of supply for the country. And as you know, Serum Institute of India, which is producing the Oxford vaccine, is a collaborator with them, has already said that they are ready with 100 million doses of the Covishield vaccine, even as we speak today. Right. So the production has been ramped up. You see, something very extraordinary happened in 2020, which India had never done before. Manufacturing and stockpiling license was granted to Serum Institute of India even before the vaccine has been licensed. So while they await, this is a huge risk that Serum Institute actually took. to ensure that there are stockpiles of vaccines available and immediate rollout can happen the moment the product is licensed by the national regulators based on safety and efficacy data. So 100 million doses are already available. As we know that in our own country, in phase 1, we have to accommodate and vaccinate 1 crore health workers, 2 crore frontline workers, and 27 crore people who are 50 years of age and above with comorbid conditions. So that is our immediate target population. And virologist Dr. Gagandeep Kang, who's an important part of the National Task Force on COVID, has pointed out that 70% of Indians would need to be vaccinated to achieve that artificial level of herd immunity, which we cannot afford otherwise because a lot of people will die. So 70% Indians would have to be vaccinated. India will have to look at its supply position. So as I said, global partnership, the top is vaccines. And secondly, as you know, the therapeutics is going to continue. Masks are going to be very important because you see, all experts are telling you repeatedly that vaccination is not an immediate exit route from COVID-19.
Right.
Don't think that today, if you get that inoculation jab, you're going to be protected from COVID vaccine. No, you have to continue wearing masks. Why is that important? That is important because we are yet to study the impact which vaccinated populations will have on the COVID disease transmission trends.
Right.
That is something which will happen after the vaccination happens. World Health Organization is designing trials and India will be part of that trial. So that will be another major global partnership to test how the vaccination is impacting the transmission of COVID.
All right, another aspect that I'd like to touch upon, Mr. Khar, is about the schemes and the reforms. Now, in recent years, we've seen unprecedented reforms. How has the government articulated the aspirations of the people in these trying times, in the new normal, as we call it? And what is your big picture view of the economy in the year 2021?
I think, obviously, led by the Prime Minister and, the entire cabinet and also top chief ministers of this country, they have very rightly, been at the forefront of meeting the virus challenge. I think there is no doubt on that this was such an unprecedented crisis that it required the best of political minds to sit together. Prime Minister has been holding repeated meetings with the chief ministers and in turn, with the district administrations. So, we have a considered and also a consensual approach to, mitigating the virus. In terms of the reforms, I think it's a great occasion, to my mind, to bring about a little more reforms in the overall healthcare sector. I'll just give you a couple of examples. I've been looking at it for the, several years, but I think it's most opportune time to do it now. If you look at the the pharma sector, which is said to be the big ticket export, economy for India, we want to really build India as a base in the pharmaceutical sector. We are the generics leader, but that's not where the big money is. The big money is in the branded drugs. So we need to, at one level, for discovering a drug, an estimated cost on the global estimate about $1 billion. We need to support Indian drug makers to go for branded drugs, for discovering drugs which are ultimately becoming the panacea for all ills globally. So that India truly becomes the value chain leader in pharmaceutical sector. How do we do that? As I said, there has to be some collaboration between private and public sector, and government has to look at building the R&D capability and encouraging private sector players to, not just create lower end versions or generic versions, which is very good, but also look at creating, the patented drug, ecosystem in this country. That's where I think, the value chain gets enriched. The other most important thing is that if you look at the healthcare infrastructure today from the policy framework, it is lying in 2-3 various ministries. We have the pharma sector resident in chemicals and petrochemicals and fertilizers ministry. I don't see it doing anything there. There's a department of pharmaceuticals in the ministry of, petrochemicals and fertilizers. And then in the health ministry, there is, there are certain administrative areas which govern the healthcare administration in this country. So between pharma, healthcare, then there is the food, which is an important element, part for the health management, which is resident with the food processing ministry. So I think there is need to create, there was some talk earlier also of a group of ministers trying to create an integrated health policy framework. India needs an integrated health regulator, not just to do a licensing piece. it needs an integrated health regulator where there is a considered and very concentrated policy framework. Right now, it's split between too many ministries. We have been writing about it, trying to point it out in various fora. Obviously, there are turfs between various ministers and ministries, which are like legacy issues.
Right.
Now is the time to break that and create an integrated approach. I mean, there is a drug pricing controller regulator. As I said, there is Department of Pharmaceuticals. Then there is FSSAI, Food Safety Standards Authority of India. All these are playing roles which are, so to say, integrated, and they need to be looked at in one go to create the next big health policy. And also, it should have a very clear control for the private sector. Second most important thing is, in the larger economy, I think we have seen, if I can use the word, green shoots. In fact, even the most pessimistic people about Indian economy have now started realizing that the recovery rate to, has been much faster than expected. And the most interesting and the most positive piece about this turnaround has been that it's coming from rural India. Because if India growth story has to happen and has to endure, it has to happen from not just 6 or 8 metros. It has to happen from the larger track called Bharat and India. So if economic growth has to endure, we need to sustain, the positive signs that have happened. That again, in the macro sense, not just from health perspective, we need to see government spending little more, because private sector investments is on a low. There is a little bit of a confidence issue. I think government has to play the big ticket role of spending, so that ultimately leads to increase in consumption. See, India is a consumption-led economy. However, we wish that changes, but that's the pattern today. Consumption has to perk up. There are early signs that it's perking up, but it has to endure. For India to, sustain itself as a consumption-led economy, there has to be a morale booster in terms of creating the right investments. With private sector not doing it, it has to be goaded, it has to be encouraged, it has to be, so to say, solicited to perk up its investments. Now is the time to do it, because then you'll have a greater return. And also government has to keep on, investing. There is this charge of this fear of fiscal deficit going average. I think for a while, because of this pandemic crisis, we can, so to say, take a little bit of handle off our fiscal deficit, management, which is very good with this government. They're trying to keep fiscal deficit, not make a, Godzilla out of it.
And the government has been focusing on recovery, on economic growth. Right, sir. And as Vice President says, that the biggest lesson from this pandemic or the year gone by is to learn to live with a purpose and a meaning. On that note, thank you so much for joining us. So that's all we had for you in this edition of Discussion today. Thanks for watching and stay tuned to Rajya Sabha TV.